Hello students, I'm glad that you opted for commerce stream. Now we all know because of coronavirus, our school has started with e-classes and I, Miss Neeta M. Tulsiani, will teach you economics. Students, today we will start with the first chapter of economics. In it, we start first with the introduction. Now human beings are intellectual creatures. It means they are knowledgeable creatures. That is why they are able to make groups, differentiate and examine their surroundings and environment. Now to ensure that we live happily, we have made institutions like social, political and economic systems. Social means the way of living in a society. Political means form of government. Economic system, basically simple meaning of it is monetary system. Now in order to understand such systems and to see that they sustain over a long period of time and to solve the complexities, that is the complications, the problems in such systems, human beings formulated certain principles based on various philosophies and sciences so that we can live happily in a society. We have formulated certain rules and regulations. Now, in prehistoric period, when there were no such institutions, people, when they had differences, they used to solve such problems with the help of fights and battles. But with the development and progress of civilizations, human beings were able to logically resolve the differences, the problems of life by creating and using the principles. And economics developed as a philosophy and a science of rational economic behavior. Now we move on to the meaning of economics, which says that the word economics in Indian thought is Arthashastra. Yes, we are well known with the word Arthashastra. It is derived from the Sanskrit word earth. The meaning of earth, A-R-T-H, is the purpose, goal, the motive. And thus, Arthashastra in Sanskrit means the science of benefits or purpose in practical life. It means whatever a person does, always there is a reason behind it. There is benefit of that person. If there is no benefit, the person will not do it. It describes that the purpose of human behavior is to seek benefits. The English word economics is a derivative from the Greek word oikonomics. Oikos means household, related to house. And nomos means management. So we can say that economics means management of households. I hope I am clear to you by this point. Now we move on to economics in Indian thought. Now we all know that our country's culture is almost 5,000 years old, and thus Indian philosophy says about various different aspects of human life. There are 4 Purusharthas in Indian thought, in Indian philosophy. 4 Purusharthas means purpose of human beings. The very first one is dharma, that is righteousness, the duties that a person is supposed to perform. Next is earth, A-R-T-H. Purpose, benefit, wealth are the 3 different words that are translated for the Hindi word arth, earth. Next is kama, that is desire. And the last one is moksha, that is liberation. And the activities of life done for earth, that is benefits, to gain something, are the subject matter of economics. Now, any activity done with the purpose of obtaining some benefit is called economic activity. Very simple and easy. Economic activity means any work that is done in order to see that I am is known as economic activity, and it is one of the 4 goals of human beings to create the wealth as a means of living and for material pleasures. Yes, it is purpose of human behavior to create the wealth so that a person can live happily and see that he is enjoying all the material pleasures. For example, AC, TV, etc. Now, 2500 years ago, Kautilya, the other name of this person, Kautilya, the great economist, is Chanakya. He wrote a book named Arthashastra, in which he discussed about the purpose of economic activity. According to him, the intention of human being is wealth, the piece of land which has human settlement is earth, that is wealth, ARTH again, and thus the science explaining the purpose and the utility of wealth creation on the earth, over here it is EARTH, is called economics. Now, to be very simple and easy, Kautilya says that whatever wealth a person is having, he is supposed to utilize it in order to create more wealth. For example, if a person is having a piece of land, then he can grow different vegetables and earn from it. He can even give it on rent and earn from it. So over here, with one piece of land, we can create wealth. The next is related to the development of economics as a science in West. We studied about Indian thought. Now we move on to the Western thoughts. Very first, it tells us about the Greek philosopher Aristotle, who gave his views on economics in his book named O Economica. Now, with the advent of Industrial Revolution, it means when the Industrial Revolution started, specialization also started. But first, let us understand the meaning of division of labor and specialization. It means that a group of person is given a particular task, then after some time that group will become specialized in that particular work. For example, in a textile industry, a group is given the work of dyeing and the other group is given the work of, say, weaving. Then after a certain period of time, both the groups will become specialized in their own work. Now, with the advent of Industrial Revolution and after that, division of labor and specialization were introduced, the knowledge of philosophy also started getting classified into various specialized sciences. Slowly and gradually, these specialized sciences were classified. Now, like the physical sciences, social sciences also developed, and as the specialized branches and their methodologies were no longer based on descriptive logic, but these sciences started applying scientific tools and methods. To be very simple and easy, slowly, the human behavior was studied. And over here, the logics were not used, but scientific tools and methods were used. Hence, studying purposeful human activity became an independent science. It became an independent subject, which is known as economics. Then further it says that Adam Smith wrote a book in 1776. The name of the book is An Inquiry into the Nature and Causes of Wealth of Nations. The book is popularly known as Wealth of Nations. Adam Smith is known to have pioneered the development of economics as a specialized area of knowledge in the West. It means a person who gave more importance to economics in West. Now we move on to the definition given by the different great economists. The very first definition is given by Adam Smith. He says that economics is the study of nature and causes of wealth of nations. It means economics studies the exchange of physical wealth produced by labor. It means whatever a person is producing with the help of his own labor, with the help of his own hard work, and is spending the amount in order to gain material pleasures. Adam Smith studied human efforts, and on the other hand, his methodology was scientific. Yes, he studied about the human efforts. It means whatever a person is able to produce with his own efforts, and his way of studying this was very scientific. So, it was also known as social science. Since the times of Adam Smith, economics was studied as an independent science and not as a part of general philosophy. Because of his thoughts, economics was studied as an independent subject. In a way, he talked about human welfare only in his book. It means his definition is based on human welfare. Now we move on to the definition of economics by Alfred Marshall. Now Alfred Marshall said that economics is the study of mankind in ordinary business of life. Very simple and easy. It says that in everyday life, people usually seek material well-being. Yes, in everyday life, whatever we do is for material well-being, is for material pleasure. He wrote the book named Principles of Economics. It was published in 1890. But this definition of material well-being, but still it is important as it keeps human well-being at the center of human activity. Yes, if I am able to gain more of material pleasures, then it will be considered as my well-being, as human well-being, and hence it is given importance. Now we move on to the definition given by Lionel Robbins. Now, he says that economics is the science which studies human behavior as a relationship between ends and scarce means which have alternative uses. Now, he says that the human behavior, over here he has studied human behavior related to the ants and scarce means which have alternative uses. It means suppose I am having 50,000 rupees and we all know the human wants are unlimited and the means, that is the money to satisfy it, is limited, and that money has alternative uses. Now suppose I have 50,000 rupees, then I have many different alternatives for it. For example, for that 50,000 rupees, I can invest in mutual fund, I can keep it in bank, or even I can buy gold. So I have 50,000 rupees, a fixed sum, and it has got alternative uses which in turn will gain me more wealth. Now human wants are unlimited and most of the wants keep on recurring. Most of the wants keep on recurring means occurring again and again. For example, our wants for clothes, stationery, recharge and mobile. Now on the other hand, the resources which help in satisfying the human wants are limited, and yes, the money that we have, the income that we earn is limited and it has alternative uses. Hence economics must deal with the problem of allocation of scarce resources and satisfaction of human wants to maximum possible extent. So a nation is supposed to use that limited amount of money in a very proper manner in order to now progress. Now over here, this definition is a positive science. It's a real science. It does not prescribe how things should be. It studies how human beings behave and does not deal with how they should ideally behave. It means it tells us about how we do behave and not how should I really behave. Leonel Robbins wrote a book titled Nature and Significance of Economics in the year 1931. Students, now we move on to the last definition that is given by Paul Samuelson. Now Paul Samuelson says that economics is the study of how people and society end up choosing with or without the use of money to employ scarce productive resources that could have alternative uses. Now over here I'll give you example of government. Now government has also got income that the government gets from different kind of taxes. So over here the income of the government is limited, but it has got alternative uses. Alternative uses means government can use it to increase the number of industries, for infrastructure facilities, to increase the number of schools and colleges so that the literacy rate can increase the number of hospitals. So with the scarce income, the government has got the alternative uses to produce various commodities in industries. Different goods will be produced over the time and distributing them for consumption. Yes, then the government will give it to the people for consumption now or in the future. Yes, it will be kept in the godowns or it can be used in the current condition also among various persons in the society. It analyzes cost and benefits of improving patterns of resource allocation. Yes, before investing the amount, the government will see that how it can reduce the cost and increase the benefits. Hence, Samuelson talks about choice. What I as a government am choosing, allocation of the scarce resources, where I am investing it, an evaluation of cost and benefits of doing so. Yes, I will see. The government will see what is the cost and how will it be able to earn. So students, over here also, Paul Samuelson, he wrote a book named Foundations of Economic Analysis that was published in the year 1947. So with this, I end up with my first video. We will continue with this chapter. By the time, take care of yourself. Thank you.